doing well. My name is Katie and I make book-related videos every single Wednesday, and today I'm very excited in particular for today's video because we all have our kind of niche and our core for the types of books and types of videos that we like to make. And at my core, what I love making are reviews of horror novels that you guys have probably not read, probably not even heard of, that have just really flown under the radar, and I've loved just kind of finding those gems and reviewing them for you guys. So that's what I have for you guys today, and today I will be doing a spoiler-free review of The Elementals by Michael McDowell. So The Elementals was written, I believe, in 1981, I want to say, and that's when it takes place, and it takes place in the Deep South in Alabama. There are two families, the Savages and the McCraes. They're kind of old money, and the matriarch of the Savage family, this old woman who is also quite horrible, dies. So the two families right at the beginning of the book are coming together for her funeral. Now I won't say what happens at her funeral, but I'll just say it's very odd and there's a very strange old family ritual involved. But in order to kind of commemorate her death, they decide to go down to this area of Alabama called Beldam. Now at Beldam are these three identical Victorian homes. One is owned by the Savages, one is owned by the McCraes, and the third house is not owned by anyone. So these three identical old Victorian homes sit right on the coast, and they're sort of the summer homes that the families would come to when they were younger. As I said, each family owns one of those houses, but then there is the third house, and that's what it's referred to as throughout the entire book. And I'll insert an image here I found online that I just Googled that I think is what you should picture when you picture the third house, but it's essentially slowly being taken over by sand from the Gulf. So as I said, this is a horror novel, so that third house is really where a lot of this horror takes place and trying to understand what is happening there. So I'm going to start off with all of the pros, for which me at least there were many. And my main pro for this book was how atmospheric it was. I haven't read a lot of Southern Gothic horror, but from a lot of the other reviews I've read, this is definitely the epitome of it. It's not a thriller where things are popping out at you. I mean, that does happen sometimes, but overall it's a very sort of slower book where it has a lot of build-up, and when you close this book, the atmosphere really stays with you. Just as the family is there, the atmosphere, it's hot and suffocating, but at the same time, going to Beldam is almost sort of addictive and intoxicating to these families as well. And as this is sort of a Southern Gothic atmospheric book, and because there is a lot to do with the family history as well, I just throw that out there because there are a lot of different types of horror novels, and I know some people are much more interested in the fast-paced kind of gory ones, and although there is gore in this one, it's definitely more slow and kind of detail and character oriented and just kind of building up that atmosphere. McDowell also does a fantastic job of making you terrified of the most mundane things. I never thought I would be terrified by the idea of sand falling on me or sand slowly filling up a house. One of my other favorite aspects of the book was the characters. They're all very unique and odd. So as I said, they're the Savages and the McCraes, and on the McCrae side there is a father named Luker and his 13-year-old daughter named India. Now he's from the South, but he moved up to New York where he had India, so she's sort of seeing Alabama for the first time in all of its oddities. Their relationship is very amusing and very odd. They curse at each other. If she's really stressed, he'll give her, some scotch to drink. It's just a really comical out there relationship, but for some reason it works just because of the writing style, I think. So although the book doesn't have one key narrator, I would say that those two, the father and daughter, are kind of the key characters in the book. So a few of the tiny things I didn't like. But first, towards the end of the book, a couple of the characters start making some idiotic choices, but at the same time, would I have acted any better in their situations? Probably not. Some of the elements dealing with the McCrae family, I just wasn't super interested in, but his mother and her sort of terrible husband have a side storyline which is relevant, but I just kind of always wanted to skip past that part, but luckily it doesn't actually take up very much of the book at all. Also, as this takes place in the 1980s and it's in the Deep South and they talk a lot about the history of racism, I thought it was wonderful that they addressed that. However, at the same time, Odessa, who's a character in the book, I felt as if her character itself was a little bit of a cliche. It's difficult to describe, so if you'd read the book, I'd be interested to hear what you guys think about that. So as I said, I adored this book. It's very atmospheric. If you're looking for a slow-paced Southern Gothic horror, this one's also very quick. I'm definitely interested in checking out more of Michael McDowell's books. I've heard that his other books are even better. Unfortunately, he did pass away, I want to say 20 years ago at a very young age. I was just doing some Googling about him, him, and Stephen King apparently even said that he was the finest writer of paperback originals in America today. So I'm certainly gonna look into more of his books. Also, I did listen to this book as an audiobook, and the audiobook was wonderful, so I highly recommend checking that out. I finally broke down and got an Audible subscription. This book is not sponsored by Audible whatsoever, but yeah, definitely check out the audiobook because the accents and everything are just wonderful and really pull you into the story. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please let me know also which audiobook you think I should check out next that you'd recommend, and I will see you guys soon.